Chapter 3, The Swordless Swordsman. Arden Molar. I could not keep my eyes off of Goemi. There was something that drew me towards her, something that overwhelmed me enough to find myself lost in thought. "Keep your eyes on the road," Quila said. She was sullen again. "Right on," I said. Nia, Goemi, and Miro were in front of us, and as a group, we decided to remain within the paths of the Loondu woods. The soldiers would probably think we would leave the province because they were pursuing us. Well, big surprise. I am smarter than them. I have been hiding for as long as I can remember, and somehow, I felt I had already mastered the craft of sneaking. I would save all of us from the soldiers. I know I could. Nia stopped her bay and turned towards us. I caught Goemi's huge eyes that were framed with dark lashes. I yearned to drown in them if I had not yet. I grinned, tipping my hat. "Yes, Nia?" I asked. "We've been traveling for a day. I think it's better if we camp for now." I could not disagree with that. Besides, the horses needed to rest too. I climbed off my mount and left Quila on the saddle. Then I sauntered towards Nia's horse. I looked up at Goemi and extended my hand towards her. "Need help?" I asked. Goemi blushed. Whether that was good or bad, I could not tell. She shook her head, muttering in high speed, "No, thanks." From the corner of my eye, I could swear Nia was smiling, biting her lip as she tried to suppress a laugh. "All right," I said. Then I offered my hand to Nia, which she took as she jumped off the horse, giggling like a girl. Sometimes, it was hard to think of her as a mother. She was darn beautiful. Miro rocked on the saddle. "Hey, chum," I said. "Need a hand?" I offered. Miro did not flinch and completely ignored me. I shrugged my shoulders and walked back to my mount. Quila was standing beside the horse. "You offered to help them before offering me?" she hissed. "We both know you can manage to jump off a horse even when it's galloping at high speed," I said, grinning at her. Quila rolled her eyes at me. "Still, that's no reason not to offer." "I'm also a girl," she complained. "All right, next time I will, chum," I said. "Quit calling me chum." "What's wrong with you?" I asked, peering at her eyes. Then I put my right hand over her forehead to check if she was feverish. "Are you sick or something? You sound delirious." "Sick of you," she said before turning her back on me and tying the horse's reins on low-lying branches. I looked around. The bushes were thick, and the trees were so massive that a single one could cover all of us on one side, which made it quite a good place to hide. And it was not frequented either. I could tell there were no traces of crushed, dried leaves creating pathways that led to our spot. "I'm going to hunt," I said. "Does anybody here know how to catch a rabbit?" "I can catch a deer," Goemi said, and I threw my head back in laughter. "Can you now?" Goemi's cheeks flushed. "Of course, I can," she said, and without another word, she paced away, probably to prove her point. I followed her and left Quila, Nia, and Miro to set up camp. It had been a few minutes, and still, Goemi had not said a word to me. "Do you know how stunning you actually are?" I said from behind her. "What exactly do you mean by actually?" "That I might think I'm not, and you're confirming that I am?" she asked, shoulders tense with sarcasm. Before I could answer, she flared, "Don't you dare say a word, or you'll drive the hunt away." I frowned. What would work on this girl? If my smiles were not enough, I hoped that paying her attention would. Suddenly, she grabbed my hand so suddenly that I was caught off guard, pulling me to the ground as she hunched. Her eyes narrowed as she stared at a nearby rabbit. "Quit looking at me and focus on the prey or else we'll starve," she said. I felt ashamed and decided to stare at the rabbit in front of us. Poor rabbit. "How are you going to?" I was interrupted when a loud swishing sound hit past my ear, and I watched in awe as a knife sliced the air and hit the rabbit on its side. It hopped several times, limping for its life before it spun slowly and fell. "Wow," I said. Now, I believe your tale about the deer. Goemi stood up, face determined. It's not a tale. I've been doing this since forever, she said coldly. Really? I asked, glad that she was talking to me now. She quickly lost her gab and gave me the cold shoulder. I crouched beside the rabbit and watched as Goemi swiftly removed her knife from the rabbit's body. Then she wiped the blood off on some dry leaves. I've been traveling too, I said, willing to offer any information to keep her talking. She glanced at me. Why? Are you running away from someone? That question almost took me by surprise. In a way, maybe. How about your family? Are they dead? No. I'm not sure, but when I left them behind, they were all doing well. What happened? I sighed. Let's just say I didn't agree with the way we lived. She raised her eyebrows at me. It's complicated, I said. But to give up on your family wasn't? It's difficult. You wouldn't understand. Try me, she said. You're not the only runaway here. I don't think traveling with your mother gives you the right to call yourself a runaway, I said. She blushed and quickly grabbed the rabbit, walking briskly back to our camp. Hey, I said, struggling to stand and catch up with Goemi. Don't walk out on me. Was it something I said? She shook her head, completely ignoring me. Wait, she paused, a single rabbit isn't enough for all of us. I looked around the bushes intently and spotted some movements behind a few shrubs. I quickly took out my dagger and threw it to where the rustling came from. Boom! I caught a chicken, and it slowly collapsed into a heap of dried leaves. You're a pretty good throw, she said. Pretty good? I chuckled. I'm the best throw around, I boasted, only to regret having said it. And an arrogant hunter too, she said. I turned to look at her, intending to defend myself, but found a playful smile on her lips. I smiled back before walking over to where the chicken was. I grabbed it and tucked the dagger back into my belt. A rabbit and a chicken, she said softly. We'll make a pretty decent meal for today. Yeah, like the way we make a pretty decent pair, I said and quickly gave her my most sincere smile. Instead of blushing the way I expected she would, I caught a glimpse of her smile too. I beamed inside. Well, maybe it will take some time, but I can make this girl like me, too. I plopped on the ground beside Quila. She's something else, isn't she? I said, eyes gleaming. Who? Her? Quila asked, eyeing Goemi. She's all right, I guess, her voice trailed off. I still can't get over the fact that she gave me my life back. Lucky coincidence, if you ask me. Besides, that's her power. What else did you expect? You're being too hard on her, I said. Quila pursed her lips before she inhaled deeply and exhaled loudly. She surprised me when she burst out, you seem to forget that while Goemi did revive you, it was her twin brother that actually killed you in the first place. So if you think about the sequence of events really hard, let's say we put some logic into your dull head, then you'll realize that there's nothing for you to be grateful for. As though that was not enough, Quila hissed, all of her irritation manifesting in front of me. You don't owe her anything at all. Not your life, not your stupid lunch, no nothing, all right? Quit being nonsensical, you cratty hubbub's ass. I stared at her, stupefied at the outburst. She fell silent after that. Come on, chum, what's wrong? She rolled her eyes and said so matter-of-factly, aside from the fact that you seem to value Goemi so much, even though her twin murdered you in the first place, and you don't seem to care about that, I also happen to miss you a lot. What? I said, unexpecting the sharp turn of the conversation, we're always together. How can you say that? It's not like we're not riding the same horse. We are, but your thoughts, they're somewhere else. Are you jealous, chum? I teased. To my surprise, Quila blushed as she turned a cold shoulder. We used to hunt together. And now, you leave me here and make me help set up the camp. It's so unfair. Come on, chum. Don't be like that. I promise we'll hunt together next time. Besides, you could always talk to Miro. Look at that boy, he barely says anything. I bet you could make him smile by performing a show. Quila still looked glum, but at least she forced a smile. I do miss my puppets. You miss a lot of things. She fell silent again for a while. Then turning to me, she said, only when they mean a lot to me. I was unprepared for the retort, but I quickly recovered. I put my hand on her locks and tousled her hair a little. Then I laid back on the ground and covered my face with my hat. What she said about Miro bothered me, though. Quila was right. Miro actually did kill me on a whim. What assurance did I have that he would never do that again? And what if the next time he did it, Goemi was nowhere near me? I chilled at the thought as Sysis blazed from above. I removed the hat covering my face and stared at Quila. She was still pouting as she studied the sky above us. Another thought occurred to me. What if next time, Miro killed Quila instead? Would I be able to forgive myself for risking Quila's life just because I wanted to travel with a girl I was crushing on? My face went pale at that thought. Is Goemi Passip worth risking all of it?